morning and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the spirit and to serve the community. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. And whomever you love, we welcome you here this morning. And if it feels like you are moving fast, or if it feels like you are struggling to get going, we welcome you. We welcome all of you. It is good, it is good, it is good to be together this morning. If you're here for the first time, we especially welcome you. At the top of our online service, we want to invite you to please remain muted throughout the service. When too many voices sing or speak together, it can create a cacophony of voices on our audio, which can disturb the flow and the experience of worship. As we gather together this morning, we want to invite you to pop into the chat and to offer a greeting. You can find this at the top or at the bottom of your screen with an icon of a text bubble and the word chat. So please pop on over and offer a greeting this morning. It could be a wave of hello or an I'm here or whatever you prefer. Welcome, welcome, welcome to First Universalist. At the top of our worship service this morning, we will join hearts and voices in singing, recognizing that even as we are singing muted from our own homes, we are creating a song across our city of Rochester and across the country as folks are joining us from all over. So let us please join in singing our hymn this morning, hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Our words calling us to worship this morning are from Daniel Chesney Cantor. Today we begin the walk to Jerusalem, the Holy Week, the demand that we face the darkness, the broken path, the abuse of power. Today we walk toward the day spring breaking through, the Easter day of joy. So let us prepare the way. Let us join together this morning in worship to see what holiness resides within and about us, to welcome in the day and make straight the path for the work of a higher power, however you define that. Let us worship, let us worship, let us worship together this morning. And as we light our chalice this morning, which I am just doing for you all from my porch here, a chalice made by a congregant in the church where I grew up, hand-carved. I'll invite you to join me in saying our chalice lighting words in unison. May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. And will you please join me in saying our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all.
Will below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise, let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
We, my friends, are on a journey together, and I am so grateful to be here with each and every one of you. We may not know where exactly we are going, but we certainly know that we will get there together. And it is to that vision that I am asking you to give this morning. A vision of a congregation sticking together even when we are not able to be right next to one another. A vision of a congregation supporting one another along life's journey, no matter what unexpected turns we might take. A vision of a group of people that sticks together even in the face of global crisis and exhaustion of holding ourselves together. Is this not worthy of our gifts? Your generosity is so appreciated in times when our community is especially needed. Thank you. Our offering will now be collected through the link in the chat. Our gratitude this morning for whatever you can give. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. I'm going to switch my video around to share with you the story, I'm Worried, by Michael Ian Black. These are three friends you meet often in his books, Flamingo, the little girl, and the potato. I'm worried, said Potato to his friends. What are you worried about? The future. Why are you worried about the future? Because what if something bad happens? Like what? Like anything. Storms, meteors, aliens wielding potato cookbooks, volcanoes, clowns, dinosaurs, quizzes, squirrels, spiders, French fries. Please tell me nothing bad will ever happen. I wish I could, Potato, but I can't. Why not? Because nobody knows what's going to happen. Now I'm worried. It's okay, you two. Sometimes bad things happen. Like, Potato, remember that time you rolled off the table? I was bruised for weeks. And Flamingo, remember when you got your beak stuck in the peanut butter jar? Peanut butter is the worst. And remember that time when I fell off the monkey bars and broke my arm? All of those things were bad at first. But over time, they turned out okay. I got a sticker at the doctor's office, and it was scratch and sniff. Power to the potato! I put bologna on my sandwich, and it was delicious. And you both doodled all over my cast, and it looked awesome. I'm going to wrap myself in bubble wrap, just in case. That way, nothing bad can happen again. Guys, it's getting warm in here. I can't move. We're trapped in bubble wrap. Another bad thing happened. Worrying doesn't help. Since we don't know what's going to happen in the future, maybe we should just enjoy the now. Enjoy the now? Am I doing it right? Yep. How about now? You got it. Hey, Flamingo. Yeah. Boo! Ah! Enjoying the now is way better than worrying about the future. And all the friends laughed together. But peanut butter is still the worst, said Flamingo. The end.
I invite you into this reverent time of sharing the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. And as I place stones into a bowl, I will invite you to please share your joys and sorrows in the fact that we meet here, our community gathered here. And I will drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all of the joys and sorrows that remain in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love this morning. I'll invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation with me. So please get comfortable wherever you are. Let us join in the invitation from our story this morning, our children's story, to stay in the now and to really breathe deep and embrace the now. So let's just take a deep breath together. In the midst of it all, in the midst of the fears and the grief and the loss and the change and the being home and the not being home, there are still things to be grateful for. Gratitude as a lifeline to what we can appreciate, to the present moment, to reframing the unthinkable and the unimaginable. Gratitude as a practice that challenges us to not solely succumb to the apathy, to see the truth of life being more complex than that, to open our hearts and look below the anger, the sadness, the powerlessness, the lack of control. What are we grateful for today? In this moment? Not as a reflective exercise, but rather as a binding act. What are we grateful for today? In this moment, right now. Our breath, our health, our homes, our people, our family. What else? What do you hold gratitude for in your heart? As we sit in the silence, as we share this imperfect silence mingled with the subtle sounds that are present wherever we are, as we join in silence from the many corners of where we are living, let us check in with our hearts. Let us give our hearts a moment to speak amidst all of the chatter from the mind and all of the chatter of the moment. Let our hearts speak with gratitude, appreciation, rage, apathy, all of it. Let us sit in an honest moment of imperfect silence with our hearts. Friends, please join us in singing hymn number 352, our hymn of contemplation, Find a Stillness.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
Our reading this morning is At the Gate by Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon, who's actually a mentor of mine. He came in on a donkey, but we greeted him as a king. The crowd was huge that day, as though all of Jerusalem's poor, tired, downtrodden had flooded the streets, had risen up from the streets where we lay, had risen up waving palms, had put down our only coat to shield him from the mud. We had heard about him, you see, his miracles of healing, his acts of love. We heard how he had touched the lepers, eaten with the poor, turned over the tables in the temple. We knew he had come to preach peace and justice. We thought he had come to save us. Can you imagine a hope like that? You are desperate, you are starving, you are praying for relief, and here he comes, and he is everything. He is loving and kind. He is righteous and angry. He is humble and powerful, and he cares about us, the outcast, the prisoner, the lowest of the low. Can you imagine a hope like that? Thank you so much for that piece of music, Brock. That's from a person named Alexis French. Brock's been playing a lot of their music these last few months, and I'm loving it. Thank you so much for that. It was beautiful. These stories matter. Telling our collective story matters. Returning again to the same story, taking a different spin, inviting a new perspective, bringing back some of the old views to new light. This is one of the functions of our religious communities. We return to the stories, and we do not do so without some honest complexity. Today in our Christian tradition is Palm Sunday, and I acknowledge that this tradition may not be claimed by everyone here in this virtual sacred space. It is claimed by some. And to me, what matters most is that we return to the stories. That we return to the stories that have been told in our communities for years, to see what can be gleaned from them in our current context. As Unitarian Universalists, we value consistent learning, open-mindedness, and a diversity of perspectives. Exploring these stories again calls us to embrace these values and seek the wisdom of the stories of old. These stories matter. Telling our collective story matters. Our reading this morning highlights the perspective of the peoples of Jerusalem in this epic tale of entry at the beginning of Holy Week. And I want to think about those people in our current context, but this morning I want to start with the folks who accompanied Jesus on his many journeys prior to entering Jerusalem. The folks he picked up along the way who were in relationship with one another and had been learning, growing, and stretching along the road. I mean, constantly learning. Each day brought a new idea, a new concept that was radically different than from before. Eating with the poor, touching lepers, miracles of healing. These were distances usually kept in the traditions of the day. It wasn't quite social distancing, but it was not common to be eating with the poor. It was not common to be touching lepers. It reminds me of our many nurses and doctors and healthcare workers and delivery people who are not able to be distant in this time of social distancing. It reminds me of those who still must care for the sick. Caring that almost seems countercultural at this point. So different from the norms of the time. I think about these people who were traveling with Jesus, and I wonder if, with all the growing and stretching they were invited to do, I wonder if they were exhausted. I wonder if there were mornings where they woke up feeling like they needed to do something. This was an exciting time. So much new was going on. Yet finding that they lacked the energy to get out of bed and even to get their day started. I wonder if they ever felt overwhelmed by all the travel, overwhelmed by being corrected so often and learning new things, overwhelmed by going somewhere new to try a new thing or to be taught something entirely different from the way of the life that they had been leading up until that point. Along the way, these people who accompanied Jesus often talked aloud about what the meaning of all of this was. Some struggled to find purpose along the way, to know where their story fit into the larger narrative. This week, I wonder if you have struggled with this. Have there been moments when it's been hard to get out of bed? Moments of overwhelm. Moments of not wanting to learn another new thing. Moments of questioning your own purpose. Or where you can find meaning in life, where the containers where we usually find meaning are absent. It has felt to me like the distances I have traveled in my life, in just the confines of my own home, have created new landscapes and terrains. Each day, a journey towards learning new things, embracing more uncertainty, and wondering what is the meaning in all of this? And though I do not find myself traveling across towns and cities and lands like this band of misfits that accompanied Jesus, I do feel like each one of us has had to travel to new ways of being, to new ways of thinking and doing and connecting with others at such a rapid pace. It feels like our souls and our spirits are having a hard time catching up. No wonder some of us are tired. No wonder there are days when we wake up and don't feel motivated to do a thing. So much has changed so quickly. Our spirits, our very beings, still need the time and the space to catch up. In the story of these people who traveled with Jesus, each had been asked to leave their homes, to leave their jobs, their families, and to set out on a quest where they didn't know where they were going, but they knew that the journey was worth it. There was no end in sight. Their lives were forever transformed by the experiences they had along the way. They left everything they knew and traveled around in tents, in boats, over land, over water, and they had no home, no central place to be. The messages, their learnings, the community that was created resided in them. This was a scrappy bunch who survived much and kept carrying forward, each day a leap of faith into the unknown. Last week, we talked about how church has left the building. And though this group of scrappy misfits without a central gathering place certainly reminds me of the current story of our congregation, in some ways, I have to say, it reminds me of another story too. A story of a people in 1823 who began to gather in then Rochesterville because they believed in a God that was love and in a higher power who so loved this world that all would be saved. They began gathering in one another's homes and eventually found buildings to gather in, but the buildings certainly didn't belong to them. As they incorporated in 1846, after fits and starts of beginnings, the central beliefs were clear and powerful. These folks were here to stay, and they were going to continue gathering. One of their early ministers, our resident historian, tells me encouraged them to buy a building. The early minister actually said they had to buy a building or else he wouldn't come. And so they did. And eventually they lost that building and then found another. And that one burned down, and so they went and stayed with Temple Beth Kodesh while Temple Beth Kodesh was still downtown, and a new building was being built. And we have been gathering in that building ever since. Along the way, along our travels, we were learning new dimensions of our theology, ways that universal salvation was for all, ways of surviving and connecting, eventually embracing broader thinking and broader theological stances to incorporate people of many faiths, atheists, humanists, alongside the Christianity and theism out of which we come. Jewish folks, Buddhist folks, people with Muslim identities, folks of all different faith backgrounds, folks of a varied theology. My friends, this story is our story. We have been here before. We have had to travel around and disperse and come back together and learn new things and recommit to this community after tragedy and difficulty has separated us. For sure, the moments when we were apart forever changed the shape of how we were together and who we were together. For sure, the moments when we were apart forever changed the shape of how we were together and who we were together. These are the people who paved the way for us. And I am amazed that they did it without cell phones, television, and Zoom accounts to stay connected in the interim. In this larger story of this morning, I too can relate to the people in the city of Jerusalem, wondering what hope is to be found in the midst of all of this. Wondering what hope can look like. Willing to do what I can to be in touch with an honest hope. A hope that does not deny the difficulties of this moment, a hope that sees the reality that some of us are in situations that make these days and times more difficult, especially those of us living without houses, those of us still having to go to work and probably having to work more than we did before, those of us now out of a job, those of us who are scared and anticipating sickness, loss, and even death. A hope that comes out of an old story of a people who had seen difficulties, who had had to learn new things in a very quick time frame, who put their jackets down to welcome something new in, and who remained open to the changes rather than staying isolated in their homes. Now, I'm not encouraging us to go out and gather in the streets like this group did back in the day, but I wonder how we are laying down palms here. Just a reminder, palms being a symbol of the independence of Jerusalem under the oppressive rule of empire. I wonder how we are laying coats and cloaks down here to pave the way, to make a path for something new and extraordinary. A new hope that does not come absent of hardship, loss, death, and dreams deferred, but rather a hope that relies on our collective anger, our rage, our moments of meaning making in the miles we have traveled in our own homes, in the relationships we are forging, and those we are still hanging on to. As our reading said this morning, that hope is both loving and kind, both righteous and angry, both humble and powerful, and it is all about caring about us, about the outcast, the prisoner, the lowest of the low. It is found in small acts of caring for one another, in those moments when we can expand our scope beyond what we are facing in our own lives, to reach out to care for those around us. It is in the phone calls we make to check in with one another and the times when we still feel connected to each other beyond the odds. It is in the moments when we can make calls to advocate for the prisoner and the outcast in our current context, or in the food we donate to provide a neighbor with a meal today. It is in the old story, and it is in this present day. Those stories matter. Telling our collective story matters. May you be able to see your part in it. May you make space for the Spirit to catch up with you wherever you find yourself. And may you honestly embrace moments of hope and gratitude wherever they can be found, for they are precious in these times. We are part of a story larger than this moment, and we are entirely in this moment. May that tension guide you forward in all that is our life and in all that is our days. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Dear ones, today our final hymn is hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life. It is a shared favorite of our music director, Brock Chesvold, and mine, so we thought, let's sing it out this morning. So we invite you to remain muted and sing out joyfully from home, again, creating a collective song from wherever we find ourselves. Let us join hearts and voices in singing.
Okay.
For all that is alive, we sing our thanks and praise. For all that is a gift, which we are called to use to build a common good.
Friends, as we extinguish our chalice this morning, let us read together these words up on the screen and printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Though we cannot be seated next to one another, we are still connected in this community. As we come to a time to close our service, I invite you to follow the benediction with these words. We are on this journey together. So please join in typing these words into the chat as we close our service. And I'll invite you now to put a hand over your heart and just to take a deep breath. My friends, we are on this journey together, and we are part of a larger story, a larger hope, a larger life. May you go forward this week feeling connected to that story. May you go forward this week in a spirit of slowing down a bit to allow your own spirit to catch up with you. And may you go forward this week having been rejuvenated, reinvigorated by being a part of this community. We are on this journey together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.
Good morning, everyone. I am Paula Marchese, Chair of the Caring Committee. Thank you for worshiping with us this morning and joining in this grand experiment. If you would like to learn more about Unitarian Universalism in this congregation, we host a UU and U session on the third Sunday of every month, which we will be holding virtually going forward. We will share a link at the end of the service for folks to participate in that in weeks ahead. All are invited to join in virtual coffee hour 10 minutes after the service today. A separate link will be shared in the chat to join in some small group discussion and connection. There will also be a special announcement from Board President Eric Van Duzen.
Thanks, Paula. I apologize that my video doesn't seem to be working this morning. On behalf of the board, I want to acknowledge the incredible efforts this congregation has made to align our beloved community with the COVID-19 social distancing guidelines our health officials are requiring. These actions of our church are not being done as strictly an individual undertaking to protect against personal illness. They are also being done with a focus on community to ensure all of us stay well and healthy. We have pledged to one another our support and love. Our fidelity to this pledge is something that stands out about us, both in good times and in times like these when we face uncertainty and unprecedented challenges. The board wants to acknowledge the many meaningful contributions, big and small, our members and friends are making in these stressful times. We want to thank our incredible staff, Reverend Lane, Reverend Michelle, Brock, and Emma, for all that they are doing. I know I speak on behalf of not just the board, but the entire congregation when I say we appreciate you. The board sends a shout out to the recently formed Zoom team and our worship associates, the FIAC, the Social Justice Circles, and FIRE. We also want to acknowledge the extra effort of our building committee, who even before COVID-19 crisis was filling in for our open sexton position. We want to thank our personnel and finance committees, whose skill in what they do makes their yeoman's job look almost easy. Our caring committee has taken on the extra task of checking up on us. Thank you, Eileen, for my phone call. The nominating committee now has the added challenge of recruiting leadership for open positions in a world gone virtual, when the practice of their work is best done over a cup of coffee. I know I haven't acknowledged everyone, and I wish there was more time for me to go on, but please know the efforts and contributions you are making in this extraordinary time of challenge truly stands out. We are appreciative, impressed, and inspired by how this congregation has risen to the moment. Thank you for that.
Paula, you need to unmute.
Paula, you gotta unmute. Yeah, it's all good.
I'm so sorry. Please see your order of service information on our upcoming activities and events. And I have some stewardship news. Many thanks to everyone who has pledged so far. 9 more people pledged online during the service. So as of 4/4, that was yesterday, that's today, our updated figures are 82 total pledges, which includes 6 new pledges. The total amount pledged is $188,450. More than half of the pledges have been made online. However, there are still 33 outstanding pledges from last year. You can mail your pledge card to the church, or you can pledge online on the church website. Thank you for pledging as soon as possible. Any questions should be directed to Kathy Milch, Jim Milch, or Richard Reed. Their contact info can be found in the church directory. Have you thought about joining a small group ministry? If you haven't taken the opportunity to be part of a small group ministry thus far, now is a great time to stay connected this way. Our small group ministries are able to meet online over Zoom, and Reverend Michelle is happy to connect folks who are interested in meeting together for support, spiritual nourishment, and sharing with one another. Visit the small group ministry page of our website to take a survey about interest and availability. Enjoy your day and your week. We hope to see you next Sunday. Thank you.